الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما أما بعد فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله وخير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار أما بعد. So 2 weeks ago we began speaking about the story of Tâlût in the Quran and some of the benefits that we can take from this. And we said that the reason for this is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't tell us these stories as a means of entertainment, and they're not just pointless, or they're not told to us just to pass the time. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has told us that these are the best of stories. Ahsan al-Qasas, He called them that Himself, so we know that no person or no one in existence who tells a story is better than Allah, and no story that is told is better than the stories that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has told us. And this is something that there can be no dispute about, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us this Himself. Please turn off your cell phones, ikhwan. It's a big problem now. If you haven't checked your phone, please check your phone too. So this is what we spoke about 2 weeks ago, and inshallah we'll start again, or we'll continue this week. So 2 weeks ago we spoke about the beginning of this story, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, أَلَمْ تَرَ إِلَى الْمَلَإِ مِنْ بَنِي إِسْرَائِيلَ مِنْ بَعْدِ مُوسَى إذ قالوا لنبي الله مبعث لنا ملكا نقاتل في سبيل الله قال هل عسيتم إن كتب عليكم القتال ألا تقاتلوا. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us, or He said, have you not seen the group from Bani Israel after Musa? So we know that this took place after Musa, and there's a dispute. Who was this prophet? Some said that it's Yusha ibn Nun or Joshua, and this is a weak opinion because we know that Yusha ibn Nun was right after the time of Musa alayhi salatu wasalam. And this story we see it takes place in the time of Dawood alayhi salatu wasalam. And it's said that there was about 1,000 years between Musa alayhi salatu wasalam and Dawood alayhi salatu wasalam. So this is far off. It's also said that it was the prophet Sham'un, and Allahu A'lam, the stronger opinion is that it was Shimwil, or what they call in English Samuel. So this was, Allahu A'lam, again we can't say for sure, but if we look at all of the opinions, this seems to be the strongest. And again, as we spoke about before, and Sheikh Harith spoke about many times before, if something is in the Quran and the Sunnah, we accept it and we don't question it. If something isn't in the Quran and the Sunnah, and it comes from Bani Israel, whether it's the Jews or the Christians, we have a number of paths that we can take. What we do is we look to the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ where he said, حَدِّثُوا عَنِّي وَلَوْ آيَةً وَبَلِّغُوا عَنِّي وَلَوْ آيَةً وَحَدِّثُوا عَنْ بَنِي إِسْرَائِيلَ وَلَا حَرَجٍ. Or that the Prophet ﷺ said, convey from me even if it's one ayah, and speak or transmit from Bani Israel, and there's no problem. So we say that if something is confirmed in the Quran and the Sunnah, and they also believe it, we believe it. But has nothing to do with them. We believe it because it's in our book and our Sunnah. If it's something that's proven wrong in our Quran and our Sunnah, we don't care what they say. It doesn't matter. It's wrong. If it's not spoken about, then we say it could be true and it could not be true. We don't reject it and we don't accept it. So these matters that we're going to explain or say it's said that it's this, or maybe it was this prophet, or it was this river, or so on, this is based on this hadith from the Prophet ﷺ. And this is a rule amongst Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah that we need to follow. So it said that it was this prophet. So they said to their prophet, ask Allah, or send for us a king so that we may fight in the way of Allah. And this is, if we look to the seerah of Bani Israel, they had a specific way of doing things. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would send them a king and would send them a prophet. So there would be a prophet amongst them and there would be a king. And they wanted a king, or they wanted a king so that they could follow him and fight in the way of Allah. So the prophet questioned them and he said, would it be that if fighting is prescribed upon you, that you would not fight? So they responded, وَمَا لَنَا أَلَّا نُقَاتِلَ فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ وَقَدْ أُخْرِجْنَا مِنْ دِيَارِنَا وَأَبْنَائِنَا. And why would it be, or how could we not fight when we've been expelled from our homes and from our children? So if we look at this, the story that's explained, or that explains this, is that after after Musa alayhi salatu wasalam, Bani Israel remained upon the truth for a certain amount of time. We don't know the time and it's not relevant. We just know that it happened. Then they began again, as we know throughout their history, they would be on the truth and then they would fall into misguidance. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would bring them back and then they would fall into misguidance. And often it was completely leaving the religion, worshipping other than Allah, and so on. So this was the case after Musa. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would send punishment to them in the form of other people overtaking them, killing their men, taking their women and children, taking their land. That this was a means that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would use to bring them back to the truth. So this was the case now. They said, why wouldn't we? We have nothing to lose at this point. If we were in a good state where we had wealth and land and our wives and our children and our families and we were safe, then why would we leave that to go out and fight? But in this case, we have nothing to lose. We've lost everything. Why wouldn't we do so? Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala shows what these people were really like. فَلَمَّا كُتِبَ عَلَيْهِمُ الْقِتَالُ تَوَلَّوْا إِلَّا قَلِيلًا مِّنْهُمْ وَاللَّهُ عَلِيمٌ بِالظَّالِمِينَ. Then, despite this, they just gave their reasoning. They have nothing to lose. What else are we going to do? We've lost everything. So if we go fight, what's going to happen? Then when it was written upon them to do so, the vast majority of them turned away. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَاللَّهُ عَلِيمٌ بِالظَّالِمِينَ. Allah is all-knowing of those who are wrongdoing. So this act of saying, oh, I'll do this if I can. If this was able for me to do, then I would do it. Then when you get the opportunity, you turn away. This is a complete act of dhulm. And it makes you from the zalimeen, that you're lying to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And He knows you're lying. But He gives you the ability to show whether you're truthful or not. So people who say, I wish I could do this, I wish I could do this, if I only had this. And then when they have the ability, it's like they never said it in their life. How many happen with this? Whether it's they have the ability to learn, they have the ability to have a job where they can pray, they have the ability to give sadaqah, all these things, and it's as if they never heard of it in their life. And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us this. Then He says, وَقَالَ لَهُمْ نَبِيُّهُمْ إِنَّ اللَّهَ قَدْ بَعَثَ لَكُمْ طَالُوتَ مَلِكًا. And their prophet said to them, indeed Allah has sent Tâlût as your king. So now they've asked for something, they wanted a king, and now they've got it. So what do they say? And when we look at this, think about, ya akhwa, who you know who falls under this category of this type of person. Please move forward, there's already people waiting. There's the people who will see this characteristic of Bani Israel in general and in the story, that who do you know or who do you see in our city, in our province, in the world, on TV, who falls under this category? قالوا أَنَّا يَكُونَ لَهُ الْمُلْكُ عَلَيْنَا وَنَحْنُ أَحَقُّ بِالْمُلْكِ مِنْهُ وَلَمْ يُؤْتَ سَعَةً مِنَ الْمَالِ. They said, how can he have the kingship over us? So this is already, they asked for it, they've got it, and now they start to respond in a bad way. And we're more deserving of the kingship than him, and he's not been given any wealth. So we see here they responded with two things. So when they say, وَنَحْنُ أَحَقُّ بِالْمُلْكِ مِنْهُ, we're more deserving of the kingship than him. So where does this come from? In Bani Israel, there were many tribes. One tribe though, was where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would choose the prophets from. And the other tribe was who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would choose the kings from. So Tâlût wasn't from the tribe where the prophets were chosen, and he wasn't chosen from the tribe of where the kings were chosen. So he wasn't from the original one of the kings, and he wasn't from the prophets. He was from, as is mentioned, one of the lowest or most lowly tribes amongst Bani Israel. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chose him. And we know if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chooses something, the matter's done. It doesn't matter whether you like it or not. It doesn't matter whether it fits inside, it feels comfortable to you or not. It's done. There should be no response. Let alone if your prophet is telling you it, but then they dispute it. So the prophet responds and he explains why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chose him. قال إن الله اصطفاه وزاده عليكم بسطة في العلم والجسم. Allah chose him amongst you. That's the end. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him more than you in knowledge and in his body. So meaning, some say it means knowledge of the religion, some say it means knowledge of the tactics of war, and when it comes to his body, some say it means his strength, some say it means his looks. In any case, we affirm that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him more in his body and more in his knowledge, regardless of what kind it is. So here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala explains the reason for this. So this shows that when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chooses something, there's a reason behind it. Sometimes He'll tell us the reason. Sometimes we'll have no idea what the reason is whatsoever. If we know the reason, we accept it. If we don't know the reason, we don't go looking for things and say, oh, this must be the reason. How do you know? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala didn't tell us. This is haram because of this. Who told you? Don't guess. Don't guess about the religion. What's confirmed is confirmed. What's not confirmed is unconfirmed, and we leave it at that. So this is another thing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala teaches us in this ayah. Then He says, وَاللَّهُ يُؤْتِي مُلْكَهُ مَنْ يَشَاءُ وَاللَّهُ وَاسِعٌ عَلِيمٌ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives His mulk. It's His mulk. It's His kingdom. He can give it to whoever He wants. And He does give it to whoever He wants. وَاللَّهُ وَاسِعٌ عَلِيمٌ. Allah is all expanding, or Allah is all encompassing in his what He can give out or what He does give out, and He's most knowledgeable in who He gives it to. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give something to someone for a knowledge that He has. It might seem that it doesn't make sense to us, but if we know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is all knowledgeable, then who are we to question it? Yes, we might say there's something, it doesn't feel right, it bothers me, something like this, but we can take this and we can use it to have patience and receive reward for it, or we can end up like these people who say, this doesn't make sense to me, it can't be right, and we end up rejecting something from the religion and end up leaving Islam just because we thought we were more knowledgeable than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continues and He says, when He says, وَقَالَ لَهُمْ نَبِيُّهُمْ إِنَّ آيَةَ مُلْكِهِ أَنْ يَأْتِيَكُمُ التَّابُوتُ فِيهِ سَكِينَةٌ مِّن رَبِّكُمْ وَبَقِيَّةٌ مِّمَّا تَرَكَ آلُ مُوسَى وَآلُ هَارُونَ تَحْمِلُهُ الْمَلَائِكَةُ. Or Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, the sign of His kingdom or His kingship is that the tabut, and some of them say it's the ark of the covenant, not the ark of Musa, meaning like a container or something like this. And in it there will be sakina, which is calmness or something that keeps you steadfast. وَبَقِيَّةٌ مِّمَّا تَرَكَ آلُ مُوسَى وَآلُ هَارُونَ. And the remnants of what was left behind from the family of Musa and the family of Harun, and it will be carried by the angels. So here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, despite the fact that this is their prophet, they already accepted their prophet, because they said to their prophet, send us a king. So they already accept this. Then they get it and they reject it. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is still merciful that says, or He says that He's going to give them a sign that His kingship is correct, or it's valid. So this thing will come. What is the tabut? It's a container, or however we want to translate it, that contains something that will give them tranquility when they're going to fight. And there's a dispute on what it is, and we don't know. All we know is that it was tranquility. From the narrations of Bani Israel, there's many weird narrations. Some say it was something that had a human face on it, and some say that it had a dead cat head on it, and it would meow when they were going to win, and strange things. All we know is there was something in it that would give tranquility, and we stop there. Because if we end up like these other people, oh, maybe it was this. So how do you know? You weren't there, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala didn't tell us. So stop. Stop where the texts stop. And it contains something that was the remnants of the family of Musa and the family of Harun, and it will be carried by the angels. What is it said that this was? The staff of Musa alayhi salatu wassalam, the staff of Harun alayhi salatu wassalam, the pieces or the leftover pieces of the tablets that the Prophet Musa alayhi salatu wassalam slammed down when he saw Bani Israel worshipping the calf, and they were broken, these tablets that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him, the remnants of this and the Torah, and there's other things that are said that are in it. So why is this relevant? This was something kept amongst Bani Israel until it was overtaken by the kuffar, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would send them to fight against Bani Israel when they would leave their religion. They took this thing and they stole it from Bani Israel, and they put it in the building that they used to keep their statues that they would worship. And they would bury it under their statues, and it's narrated that they would put it there and they would come back and the statue was fallen over, and the tabut was out of the ground. And they would do this over and over again until these statues were broken. So we see all the way from the time of Musa alayhi salatu wassalam, or from this Bani Israel, all the way back to Ibrahim alayhi salatu wassalam, all the way down to our Prophet alayhi salatu wassalam, and into our ummah now, that this idea of breaking false idols, whether they're physical or theoretical, breaking images, breaking things that were made to worship other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is 100% from our deen, despite what hypocrites will want to say and argue against. So we see that this is what happened with Bani Israel. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was merciful with them, over and over and over would give them chances, but they would keep arguing. And inshallah next we'll talk about how this relates to our ummah. Wallahu a'lam. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, wassalatu wassalamu ala ashraf al-anbiya wal-mursaleen, nabiyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'een, amma ba'd. So we see here that Bani Israel, they would get something from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and they would have some false argument as to why it didn't apply to them. We see it in this story. We see it in the story of Musa alayhi salatu wassalam with the cow that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanded them to slaughter. Just Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told them to slaughter a cow, and what? Then where did it go? Is it this one? What is it this? What does it look like this? Is it this? What about this? This doesn't make sense. How do we do that? Where do we see this in our ummah now? Every single thing you tell them, this is from Islam. Oh, how can that be from Islam? It goes against, it goes against my mind. This is from Islam. Oh, how can that be? It goes against what our culture does. This is from Islam. Oh, how does that happen? The UN says, no, that doesn't make sense. This is from Islam. Oh, that doesn't make sense. One time I saw my dad do something different. What are you doing? You might as well say, I'm from Bani Israel, and I'm from the bad ones of them. Just say it. I have a problem in my mind. I can't accept the religion, and I'm going to argue against two. My dad, my teacher, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's who you're arguing against. When something's in the Quran, that's it. It's not a discussion anymore. Doesn't matter whether you like it or not. Just say, I don't accept what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told me. Just say that. Be a man and at least come out and say that, instead of trying to change the religion to suit yourself. Because what? Because you want a better job, because you want to fit into society, because you want to get married, because you have a mental illness, whatever the case is. This is where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has tested this ummah with similar things that He's tested Bani Israel with. Except in that time, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would continue to give them evidence after evidence after evidence. But now our prophets are done. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was the last prophet. So now it's on the Muslimin to argue against these matters. So when you see something in the news and it doesn't fit in your brain because you're not all there, and you don't like it, don't say it's not from Islam. Say, I'm sorry, I don't understand it. Don't start saying, oh, this is not from Islam. Who could do this? Then you end up calling people non-Muslims because they do something that's from Islam because you don't like it. So you're in this circle of misguidance, one after another, all because you can't, all because you have this narcissistic idea that whatever doesn't fit with you is wrong, and whatever fits with me is right. Even though you're a human being just like every other 6 billion humans in this world, you're nothing special. You don't decide what's from the deen and what isn't from the deen. So I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to let us accept what's from the religion, whether we feel comfortable with it or not. وأسأل الله تعالى أن ينصر المسلمين في كل مكان وأن يحفظ المسلمين في اليمن وفي أفغانستان وفي الصومال. وأسأل الله تعالى أن ينصر المسلمين في بلاد الشام وفي العراق وفي كل مكان. وأقم الصلاة.
الله أكبر الله أكبر.